In late 2018 and early 2019, the aviation world, and indeed the entire globe, was gripped by an unfolding tragedy. Boeing, a titan of aerospace engineering, saw its newest commercial jet, the 737 MAX, involved in two catastrophic crashes within 5 months. Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 plummeted from the sky, claiming 346 lives. The promise of a modern, fuel-efficient aircraft was overshadowed by profound questions. How could such a new, advanced plane, from a company with a century-long legacy of safety, fail so spectacularly, not once, but twice? Boeing's 737 series has been an icon of commercial aviation for decades, the best-selling jetliner in history. But by the 2010s, Boeing faced fierce competition from Airbus, particularly its A320neo, which boasted new, more fuel-efficient engines. To compete, Boeing opted for a quicker, less costly route than designing an entirely new airframe. They decided to re-engine the existing 737, creating the 737 MAX. This decision, driven by market pressures and a desire for rapid deployment, would set in motion a series of engineering compromises with unforeseen, devastating consequences. The new, larger, and more fuel-efficient LEAP 1B engines for the 737 MAX presented an engineering dilemma. Their size meant they had to be mounted further forward and higher on the wing compared to previous 737 models. This seemingly minor change had a significant aerodynamic effect. Under certain flight conditions, particularly with high angle of attack, the aircraft's nose would tend to pitch upwards. This characteristic, if unchecked, could potentially lead to a stall, a dangerous condition that pilots are trained to avoid. Boeing needed a solution to maintain the 737's familiar handling characteristics. To counteract the new aerodynamic tendency, Boeing introduced a software system, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS. Its purpose was to automatically push the aircraft's nose down if it detected a high angle of attack, mimicking the handling of previous 737s and preventing a potential stall. Boeing intended MCAS to operate subtly and only in extreme maneuvers, outside the realm of typical commercial flight. It was designed to enhance safety by providing a consistent flight feel, ensuring pilots accustomed to older 737s would find the MAX familiar and predictable. The fatal flaw of MCAS lay in its design and implementation. Crucially, the system relied on data from only one of the aircraft's two angle of attack sensors. If this single sensor malfunctioned and sent erroneous data, MCAS would activate without cross-referencing with the other sensor. Worse, the system was programmed to repeatedly push the nose down with significant force, even overriding pilot attempts to pull up. This aggressive, uncommanded action, stemming from a single faulty input, created a critical vulnerability, turning a supposed safety feature into a potential instrument of disaster. Perhaps as critical as the technical flaw was the lack of awareness among pilots. Boeing, and subsequently the FAA, deemed MCAS to be a minor system that didn't require extensive training or even a mention in the flight manual's primary sections. Pilots transitioning to the 737 MAX received minimal, if any, specific instruction on MCAS. They were largely unprepared for a scenario where an automated system would repeatedly fight against their manual inputs, especially with such force. This gap in knowledge and training would prove catastrophic, robbing crews of crucial time and understanding when faced with an emergency. On October 29, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610, a brand new 737 MAX, took off from Jakarta. Shortly after departure, an erroneous angle of attack sensor began feeding bad data to MCAS, which then repeatedly commanded the nose down. Despite the pilot's desperate struggle to regain control, pulling up against the automated system, they were ultimately overwhelmed. The aircraft plunged into the Java Sea, killing all 189 people on board. Investigators quickly focused on a possible link to faulty sensor data and uncommanded flight control inputs, setting off alarm bells within the aviation community. Just 5 months later, on March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, another 737 MAX, departed Addis Ababa. The sequence of events eerily mirrored the Lion Air crash, an erroneous angle of attack sensor, followed by MCAS engaging and repeatedly pushing the nose down. The experienced crew fought valiantly, but like their Lion Air counterparts, they could not overcome the relentless automated system. The plane crashed, killing all 157 passengers and crew. The shocking similarity between the two disasters made it undeniable. A systemic issue, rooted deep within the aircraft's design, was at play. In the immediate aftermath of the second crash, global trust in the 737 MAX evaporated. Country after country, starting with China and eventually including the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, ordered the complete grounding of the entire 737 MAX fleet. This was an unprecedented move for a modern aircraft, signaling a crisis of epic proportions for Boeing and the aviation industry. Airlines faced massive disruptions, passengers lost confidence, and the world watched as investigators scrambled to understand how such a calamity could have occurred under the watch of regulatory bodies. Investigations quickly broadened beyond MCAS, shining a harsh light on Boeing's corporate culture and the FAA's oversight. Evidence emerged of immense pressure on Boeing engineers to minimize changes to the 737 MAX, specifically to avoid costly and time-consuming new pilot training requirements. The FAA, under a long-standing practice, had delegated significant parts of the certification process to Boeing itself. This self-certification model, combined with an aggressive development timeline, created an environment where critical safety issues, like the MCAS design flaws and insufficient pilot awareness, were tragically overlooked. After nearly 2 years of grounding, intense scrutiny, and extensive redesign, Boeing implemented a series of critical fixes for the 737 MAX. The MCAS software was reprogrammed to receive inputs from both angle of attack sensors, activating only if both agree and limiting its nose-down authority. New pilot training mandates were established, ensuring crews were fully aware of MCAS and trained on how to handle runaway stabilizer conditions. With these and other safety enhancements, and after rigorous recertification by global authorities, the 737 MAX slowly began its return to commercial service in late 2020. The Boeing 737 MAX crashes represent a tragic, yet profound, turning point in aviation history. The real reason for the crashes was not a single malfunction, but a complex interplay of design flaws, regulatory complacency, and corporate pressures that prioritized speed and cost over safety. The fallout led to billions in financial losses for Boeing, significant damage to its once sterling reputation, and a shift towards stricter oversight in aircraft certification globally. The lessons learned from this disaster reinforce a timeless truth: in the intricate world of aviation, every compromise, no matter how small, can carry a devastating human cost.